Okay, so I'll start us off first then. Welcome everyone to Tech Girl United's first workshop of this year. I'm Megan Jacob, and I'm the founder and executive director of Tech Girls United. And today we have Vicky Vo here, and she's going to be going over UX design and sharing all of her amazing experience with us today. And as you should have seen from our posts and our sign-up form, she's an international award-winning designers. So you definitely have a lot to learn from her today. And I'm going to let her take it away from here. And if don't forget, if you have any questions, you can stick them in the chat and she will be having a Q&A after this.
Awesome. Thank you. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm going to start sharing and not sure how to have the chat up. Like Zoom is being a little weird for me. So I'll look at your questions later after I'm done with my presentations. So today I'm gonna talk to you guys about UX and product design and give you a little bit of intro of what UX is and also what is product design. So before we begin, I'm gonna just give you guys a little bit of background about me. So my name is Vicky Vo, and I am a co-founder of Student of UXD. We are a community of UX students of all ages. So please join if you're very interested in UX. We have a lot of workshop and events happening very soon. And I am a self-taught UX designer. I recently was identified as a potential candidate for 30 under 30. And my UX focus is in accessibility and inclusivity. So when I design, I really care about making sure my design works for all type of user and for everyone. And previously, I was at DoorDash. I was a lead designer at OrthoFX and was a staff designer at Starsona and Bliss Divorce. I also, beside designing, I also love writing about UX and love writing about design. So you can check out some of my UX articles on Medium as well. And before you leave today, make sure you connect with me on LinkedIn and also check out my website and contact me if you have any additional questions. So here's the agenda for today. First, I'm going to go over some basic terminologies and also help you understand the differences between UX and UI, understand the relationship between them. Also, we'll talk a little bit about the importance of UX research, and then we'll guide you through what does a UX job look like, what do they look for, and how to get started in UX design. So let's get started. So first, let's go over some basic terminologies. Throughout this whole workshop, I'm going to mention a lot about product. And if you don't have the tech background, or if you don't have design background, when you hear product, you might think of it as a physical product. But in the tech world, in the UX world, products is a digital product. It stands for mobile applications, websites, software, AR, VR, or any technology digital interactions. And then for UX, it stands for user experience. And sometimes I might mention CX as well, and that stands for customer experience. And lastly, we have UI, which stands for user interface. And then I'll explain a little bit more what these mean when we go a little bit deeper. But these are some basic terminologies that I will cover. I will say a lot and mention a lot throughout my workshop. So first, what is UX? So again, UX stands for user experience, and user experience encompasses all aspects of the end user's interactions with the company, with its service, and with its products. So basically, when you think of UX, you don't think of like a physical product, but you think of the experience of someone have when they are using that digital product. So I have a visual explanations right here that may be easier to understand. So if you're look on the first column, I have product, and I put Uber as an example for product. So as you all know, Uber is a ride-share app, and that is considered a product. And the user experience of Uber is to basically the purpose is to help users to get to their destinations, help them to book a ride, help them to, have a good experience when they ride the trip. So the interactions of the user with the Uber app could range from like, open the app, sign up, book a ride, track a trip, make a payment. So there's like a lot of features, a lot of things the user could experience within the app. And why are they using this app? Their goal is to book a ride and safely arriving to their destinations of their choice. So the purpose of Uber as a product is to really help the user to achieve these goals, and that is the whole purpose of a good user experience. So good user experience basically help the user and also help the business to achieve the goal. And in this case, the goal is to help the user get to their destinations. So UX is really how the product works and how the user experiences the product. So I have a little bit additional information on UX design just to clarify a little bit more. So UX design is a design process used to create and provide meaningful and useful and delightful experience to the users. And UX design is not just visual design, it's a good combination of design, visual design, psychology, business, market research, human-computer interaction, and technology. So a good UX design is human-centric, meaning it should focus on the usability, it should focus on the user emotions while they're using it, it should focus on the user needs, and also focus on the goal of the users. And as a UX designer, you are responsible to design how the user interact with a product. So your task, every day as a UX designer, the main task you would do is solving problem and conduct user research, do a lot of like analyzing of data and create information architectures. And then when you have some idea of the brief of the products, you can start prototyping, wireframing, creating user flow, and all that thing. So I'll go over this a little bit deeper later, but these are what a UX designer do on a daily basis. So visual design is part of it, but it's not all of it. And actually, that's a misconception of a lot of people who want to get into UX design. Many of them think that UX is just how it looks. And I'm going to explain that a little bit more. So again, yeah, people think that UX equal UI and UX designer makes the app pretty. That is not true at all. UX designer, as you can see from all the tasks that I show here, visual design is just a task. You're gonna do a lot of conduct, like user research, analyze data, create information architecture. So you're gonna focus on a lot of the structure of the design, and visual design is basically the last layer on top. So here I have infographic that may explain this a little bit better. So as you can see, within UX, there is strategy, there's scope, there's structure, skeleton, and surface. And UI design, which is the layout, the interface, the colors, the fonts, how the applications looks, is actually just the surface of what makes a good UX. But it is not everything, because you could have a very beautifully designed website or like a very beautifully designed applications, and your app has a very bad structure. It doesn't have a good strategy. Users get very confused about the app. They don't know what to do. Then that means your whole user experience is not good. So keep this in mind, and remember this differences between UX and UI is not the same. UI is already part of UX. So continue. So next I'm going to talk a little bit about like what makes a good UX. So over here I have something called the UX honeycomb, and this serve as a tool that help you to continuously improving areas of your products and also your services. So let's say if you are, building an app, if you're designing a website, if you're doing, anything like a digital like service, um, always ask yourself, always ask the users, like, is this product useful? Is this product usable? Or is this like findable, valuable for the user? Um, so kind of look at this as a checklist when you are creating, when you're designing a new product or like a new app or website. And all these elements of the UX honeycomb, it makes up into like a good UX, and it's basically help you to help the user to get to their goal. So I have an example here of Airbnb. Um, as you know, Airbnb is a company that mainly have their service is to help you to book long-term stay or a short-term stay, either via their website or via their mobile applications. So if you're looking at Airbnb from the starting point, which is where you log in when you sign up, to the moment you book a place, find a place successfully, like pay for a place, that is the user goal. So from the starting point to the end, the end user goal, the whole journey should have that UX honeycomb that I mentioned earlier. So like during their whole journey, when they're like looking for a place to stay, searching for a specific place, just like browsing different kind of listing, it should give them, a very delightful experience. It should be useful, it should be accessible, it should be like valuable to the customer, because this whole journey is very important because it's going to help them to get to their goal. Imagine if you are doing an applications, and then the whole process is really, really confusing, then people might just drop out in the middle, and then they will not get to their final goal. The business will be effective. They will lose customer, and then the users, they get very frustrated because they could not, get a place that they want. So having these elements in mind when you design is absolutely important. Another visual to explain the relationship between UX and UI. So if you first look at the first picture, if you have a very good, UX, very good experience, however, the UI is not as good, then the user may get bored really quickly, or like the user may not find it as delightful. So they might not feel likely to return to use your service. And same thing, if you have a very beautiful UI, your app looks super great, but then it doesn't help the user to get to their goal, then again, they would not be likely to return to use your service as well. So as a UX designer, you will try to keep the balance of good UX and good UI, making sure that the experience is good, but also the interface is delightful for the user as well. And this will help you in the business of the company that you're working for, make them successful, and also help the customer to achieve their goal as well. So let's talk a little bit about like bad UX. So bad UX not only is very confusing. Imagine if you have like an app on your phone and you just absolutely hate it because the experience is really bad. It's caused like frustration, it's caused like confusion, and it's not usable. So like you would be deleting the app like really quickly, maybe like after the first try, and then you just really hate it. Then usually like user would just like delete it immediately. And so that is really bad for the business, bad on the user side too, because now if they hear your name or your app's name or like your company's, they will have like a very, bad flashback about it. So like from the company side, you will lose customer, you're gonna lose your user. And then as a company, you're gonna waste more money, waste more time designing, developing, like coding the whole thing again. So user experience is super important. And actually that's explained why user experience is like a booming field right now, because companies have been, realized that user experience is really everything, because you can have like the best like code, like program like in the world, but then the users cannot use it or don't understand how it works, then you're gonna lose a lot of customers. So just doing a quick summary before we move on to the next sections. So UX design decides how the products works and how the users interact with the products. And again, remember this, UI is not UX. UI is already part of UX. So user interface is already part of what makes a good user experience. So user experience is really about the look, the feel, and then the usability, and also like accessibility as well. So these are the three takeaways that I hope you guys remember after this workshop and carry on with you. So next, I'm going to talk a little bit about research and why research is the key and why research is important. Let's say you are designing an app and your target audience is Gen Z. Um, and as you know, as a millennial, as a Gen Z, you may say like, oh, I already know what they like, so let's just do it this way. Let's just make these decisions and not do any research at all. However, as a UX designer, to remove bias, um, we have to do a lot of research, even though like you are the target audience. For example, like I use Netflix. I am like the user of Netflix, but if I work at Netflix, I cannot assume that I know what users want, because even though, in your personal time, you are the user, you cannot apply that knowledge when you work, because that will create a lot of bias in your design decisions. So basically, UX research focuses on understanding the user expectations, behaviors, need, and motivations. So when you do research and you receive all the data back, it will help you to make a lot of decisions that benefit the user. And it's not just like designing for you. Like you're not designing for yourself. You are designing for the target group of users. So user research will help you to remove the bias, and it will be like your applications, your product will be more user focused. And every design process within UX will always start with user research first, because what is the product without its user? You don't want to create a website for a certain target of audience, but then don't do any research and then accidentally, lost track and design for a different target audience instead. So research will help you to stay on track. And there are some research methodology as well. I think on one of the sheets that I received in advance of all your questions, I think someone was asking like, what kind of research do, UX designers use? So we have a lot of different ways to do research. But as a UX designer, you're not expected to know, how to do all these research. Usually UX researchers are the one who will be taking care of this task. However, as a designer, at your job, they might expect you to at least know how to do user interview, know how to write like a user survey or like an online survey, and do like personal persona building and do some journey mapping. So you're expected to know a few, but not like everything, because UX researchers are usually there to help you as well. So next, I'm going to talk a little bit about like UX within the company. And these are just, very like general like process. So it may be different within different type of companies. So this may apply to larger company. But if you want to go into a startup as UX designer, this process may look a little bit different. So this really depends on the companies. So first, let's say if you have, if they want to add a feature to an existing app, let's say I'm going to use Spotify as an example. let's say they want to add a feature to Spotify, usually it's going to start with the business planning phase. And this is where the stakeholder, the project managers will be, planning out what are the requirements of this feature, what should we add in. They will be the one who do all the business planning um, before it even goes to you. So usually at big company, project managers will be the one who write all the briefs and then give you all the requirements. And the next step is usually they will send that to your design team. And within the design team, some company, they have a UX researchers, but some company, you may be, you may have to do all the research as well. So, but usually it's going to go to research first, and then you are going to work with the researchers on finding the right decisions. What should this feature looks like on this page? How do we get the user to get to that features, and just help to kind of like translate the brief into finished design. And after that, there will be like rounds of review and edits and modifications. But after that, it's going to go to the development phase, and this is where developers and engineers will make it functional. So for UX design, usually you'll be expected to work with product manager, project managers, other designer, and also UX researchers. So you will not be working alone most of the time. You'll be working with many different cross-functional team to make the decision on even like if it's a very small features within a big product. And then next, I'm going to just give you a little bit of background of UX job requirements and qualifications. So usually for UX, most schools or like most universities, they don't have any UX program for you. So a lot of people who go into UX design have a design degree or like major in human computer interactions or computer science. Also UX, a lot of people who's doing psychology and sociology are also very interested in UX. I actually have many friends who have psychology major, and they all went into UX as well, because again, UX is like designing interaction behaviors of the user. So like psychology and sociology is like really needed. And also like graphic design as well. Like myself, I actually have a graphic design background. So going into UX, I don't have to worry so much about the visual design aspect, but I did have to work a lot more on the psychology and the cognitive side of UX. And yeah, so your day-to-day job, you are expected to, again, collaborating with different teams within your company, and know and understand the design process. You would be, you have to know and understand how to design across multiple platforms, meaning like for job, you cannot go into a job and say like, oh, I only want to do UX for iOS app only. Like they would expect you to know how to design for iOS, Android, how to translate that into a website or like a mobile web or web version as well. So we cannot really pick and choose, because you have to understand how all the experiences work on different platform and different devices as well. And to get a job or to get an internship, they need a portfolio to highlight your multiple projects. So that will be basically the number one thing that they looked at if you are looking for a job. And then for tools, there's like a lot of tools right now that support UX design, but the main ones are Figma, Adobe XD, and Sketch. Personally, I really like Figma. That is like my main tool to design at the moment. However, some companies, they actually want you to know how to use all three just because it's more flexible. If the teams decided to go with Adobe XD instead, then you can pick that up really quickly. So they all like like for me, they feel very similar. Like even like the interface, feel like it's very easy to use. And if you know how to use one of these, you can pick up the rest like really, really quickly because its functions and also the look and feel is like very, very similar. So I would say picked up Figma because that is like one of the, I think the most like industry standard right now. Most companies like Google, DoorDash, Dropbox, LinkedIn, they all use Figma at the moment. So picked up Figma, and then the rest you can learn that like like very, very quickly. And then there's like some of the prototyping tool as well, such as Envision, Framer, and Principle. Those tools are is gonna be like more of on the prototyping side. And if you're looking for a job, usually they want you to know at least one of them as well. So I would recommend checking out Envision and Framer. Um, Next, I'm going to talk about UX process. And before I dive in to the UX process, like how to even like start to do UX. Things to keep in mind is that the process is very different for each project, and also is different at each companies as well. So the way you design at this company will be different than the way you design at that company. So it's like it's very, very different. And then again, UX process is not one size fit all. It's different. It's not a linear process. It's not something that like it's a checklist that you check as you go down. So it's definitely not like a series of steps to take. And there are a few UX design process out there. If you have some background in UX, you might have heard of design thinking, or lean UX, and human-centered design, which is HCD. So these three, if you go into UX, you might hear this a lot. But yeah, keep in mind, again, these are just kind of like act as a guideline. Companies don't really follow these like very, very closely because we have to mix stuff, we have to change it to fit the project as well. So I'm gonna talk just briefly about the human-centered design. So I'll go just very quick around this because this could be this is very complex. So human-centered design is a process where you are going to engage your users basically throughout the whole design process. So they will be there to help you with the requirement. You can basically do very intensive research on the user, and they will be with you along the way from the moment you get the requirement, you get the audit, you get the brief, to the moment where you do visual design. And is this human-centered design is sorry, this process is basically used like at many different companies, and they mixed up some of the steps as well, just to kind of make sure it fits the project. So yeah, just look at this as a guideline only. So you see how like get the audit, get the requirements, and then you build like information architecture, going to interaction design and prototyping, do a lot of user testing and validations, and then it's like a whole circle. You just keep going until you get like a very good like final result, and your product. I'm so sorry. The user will be like with you along the way. So we always like this is very safe because you know what the user wants, you know what the user needs, and so at the end you will know exactly that your product works because the user has been there with you throughout the journey. So next is design thinking. So this one is really popular nowadays, especially like at boot camps. Most of the UX boot camp, they only teach design thinking. It's a good thing, but also a bad thing. Like design thinkings help you to kind of like test out your product and go through the whole like design process really quickly to see if your apps works well, if your products works well. However, at bootcamp, they might teach you like only these like 5 step and give you a perceptions that, okay, to do UX, you have to do this 5 step, and that is considered UX. So that is not true at all. Um, these are just, again, guideline to help you. But if, let's say, if you are designing a very complicated like applications, follow these 5 steps will not give you the result that you want, and it may not align with the user's need at all. So I would say use this as the guideline, but not like follow these like strictly just follow the 5 step when you do your project. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about like some UX terms and why it's important. Let me check the time if we still have time. Okay, we still have time. So first, I'm going to talk a little bit about personas. So personas are fictional characters, and why doing persona is going to help you to scope out the range of user who will be using your products. So let's say if you are designing a product for like middle-aged like women, like doing persona will really help you to understand their needs, their goal, their fears, or like what is their, you know, what do they prefer more, and what is their personality and lifestyle looks like. So this will help you to empathize with the user needs and understand their pain point and their frustrations. And from like internal like purpose, this will help you and your team to really focus and target your design around the users, so that you are designing the products for the targeted user and not for yourself. Because as a UX designer, you cannot, think that, oh, this user, I feel like this user, want it this way, so let's just do it that way. Like, you cannot make assumptions. Have to really study the user and see what they need. Next is something called empathy map. So this empathy map will help you to understand the users and also prioritize their needs. I would say doing this is very helpful for me during my project. It's really helped me to understand the user that I'm designing for, and kind of build empathy around the user. And again, same thing, this will help to remove bias on your design decision as well, because now you just focus on this just one person, what they need, what they feel, what they think, and what they do. Next up, I'm going to talk about wireframing. So wireframing is basically a rough draft that help you to see how your products work. And usually for wireframing, you can just use papers like what I have here. Some people like refer to do it like online using Figma. But for me, like to do very fast, wireframing to kind of see how things flows together, like just doing wireframing on paper, like that's totally fine. This is like the fastest and the cheapest way to explore different directions. And also you can test out your solutions as well. Just kind of like do very rough draft to see if the decisions or like the final solutions feel like it's going together with the whole like user journey. User flow is also a term that we use a lot. So it's very similar to wireframe. However, this will show a little bit more of the narrative of the user flow. So when you do this, you will see how the whole application works. You can go to see like, if the user click here, where do this take them? If they click there, where do they take them? Like, is it going back or is it going forward? So basically this helps you to oversee the user's journey from their entry point through a set of steps toward the successful outcome and also the final actions. So this is kind of like an overview, the bird view of your applications. Either if you are doing an app or a website, like this is what is really important as the first steps. So next up, I'm gonna explain the term prototyping. So within prototyping, there are 2 different types. So there's like low fidelity and high fidelity. And this is really good to use as for like usability tests. or you can, do this to test your solutions as well. Usually for prototyping, people would expect to see it on on a digital form. This is the fast and cheap ways to explore different directions as well. So it doesn't have to be like final. You don't have to put any like images, icon, or anything yet. It should be like a higher fidelity rough draft that show how your application works. So yeah, low fidelity prototyping. This could be done on paper or digital. You can test out UX copies here too. So if you're working with a content strategist, usually they will be working with you through this phrase to add in some text, like recommend you like the right keyword, the right terms to use at certain like page. So this will help you to see the scale of your project, and this is a great way to test out the feature of your product as well. And then for high fidelity, usually this is the one that is the closest to your final deliverable. This should, at this phrase, it should be clickable and it should be interactive, meaning it should be able to, like user or like whoever's testing this should be able to know exactly what is happening on every page. And then for high fidelity, people really, I think it's really helpful to use as to pitch ideas. So let's say if you are doing a school project, or if you are, you want to run a startup and you want to pitch ideas to stakeholders to get, funding and things like that. Doing high fidelity prototyping will be super helpful because, like for people who don't have like technical background, they only see and understand the visual design. Showing like interactive prototype like this will help them to understand how your app works without like coding it. So next, let's see, still have time, so I'm going to go over a little bit about like getting started in UX. So first of all, to get started, you must know how to use the tools. And for the tool, there's like a lot of free courses online. I would say check out the free Figma courses and also free Adobe courses right on their website. Also, check out LinkedIn Learning as well. There's a lot of courses on how to use these tools. And then to learn the fundamental and the basic of UX design, I would recommend check out like those free or like really low cost classes on Udemy, Coursera, or Skillshare. And Interaction Design Foundation is also a good website as well. I would say when I started, I also, try courses on here, and it's really helped me to get the basic and the foundations of UX design without, paying a lot of money for bootcamp. And if you are a college student, if you are a high school student, going into college pretty soon, I would say you might have some elective classes that you don't know what to take. I would say kind of take advantage of that and take some psychology class, cognitive class, market research class. Really, really help you to understand the user behavior and understand like how to analyze like data. And if you don't have any visual design background, like you don't know how to like, let's say layout of design, like topography and colors theories, things like that, I would say take some visual design class or graphic design class at school. The combination of these will help you to, get started in UX very, very quickly. I would say check out some UX books as well. I have a list of recommendations here. I can send a copy of this slide later for you as well, so you have a copy. And also a lot of UX podcasts are available for free online as well. Another like very good resource that helped me a lot when I started was to go to different events and workshops online. So I usually go to Eventbrite to just check out what workshops are available in my area, and actually like go there in person. So now, even though we don't have it in person anymore, there's a lot of free online UX workshops out there that is available for you. One second, let me turn on the light. Um, and then to practice UX, I would say starting a portfolio is going to be a very important step. Do personal project is usually how most UX designers start. I would say find a problem um, on your favorite app, like find a problem and try to fix it. Or you can like create your own app in the website as well. So when I started, I really like, I really like makeup. I really like, beauty products and stuff. So my first project, like personal projects, I designed a makeup app that help people to, find a perfect makeup product. So by doing that, I learned a lot of things like throughout the process. I asked a lot of people for feedback and really, start to learn UX by doing, because you can learn all the theories from these classes, but if you don't start, making your own things, then you cannot really apply like all the things you learn. So I would say, do your personal project, do a side project, start your portfolio. Another thing that could help you as well is to check out other UX designer portfolio. So when I started, I read a lot, and I spent a lot of time reading other people's portfolio to see how they structure their case study, to kind of see how they, design an app or how they design a website, and kind of like follow their footstep, like follow the step that they do and kind of test it out yourself. So I did that and I thought it was really helpful. And I think that's most how, how people like self-taught themselves like do as well. You have to look at others people's stuff and really like ask yourself like, why are they doing this thing? Like, why are they putting a button here? Why did they, choose this color? Why did they make such a decision? So you will find out when you look at their case studies on their portfolio. And so another habit that I picked up as well that helped me within UX is I pay attention to different, like common UX flow on different websites. So next time, let's say next time you go on Amazon, pay attention to how the logins works, how the sign up works. Like, why is the checked out like process so seamless? Like, why did you like, buying stuff on Amazon so much? Is it because like it's very easy? Is it very delightful, like you don't get confused, like everything is really easy for you to purchase? So like think about those stuff as you are, using this website and app. Like the next time you open TikTok, like kind of like analyze the app a little bit, like why is it so successful? Why do people like this so much? Like ask yourself that questions, analyze all these things. And then again, like UX, like there's no like specific program that at school or at university that teaches UX. So finding a mentor who is a UX expert, who's been working in the industry is super, super like important. So I would say check out the Amazing Design People list, adblist.org. You can connect with a lot of, industry expert UX designers up there. You can ask them questions, ask them about their work life, ask them about, what they do at work and things like that. They will be able to help and guide you, through your journey. And they're doing this for free. Like they're just volunteer to do this. So I would say check them out. Um, and I would say check out communities as well. Join some Slack group and Facebook group of UX designer to learn from each other. When I started, communities was something I was very active in. I post many of my design up there, and people like give me feedback. People chat with me, making that like connections and getting feedback on portfolio and design is like really, really helpful when you first started in UX, because you want to hear other people opinions on your product, on your design as well. And then the last thing I want to talk about is UX Bootcamp. So this is really, really famous, and you might run to their ads like everywhere, especially like from maybe General Assembly or like Thinkful. They have like a lot of ads around. So bootcamp, they teaches you fundamental and basic of UX as well. And usually this lasts for 6 weeks to 6 months or 12 months, depends on the bootcamp. But this is the most, it's going to be your most expensive like options. So usually it's going to cost about $3,000 to $14,000. So that's just a lot of money. So there's like pros and cons of UX bootcamp. So I would say do research on them first before you sign up. Um, some of them like really like on advertisement, they promise you that they will help you find a job, or like you will get a job after you finish the boot camp, um, which is not true. So really do research on that as well. And also some of them like promise you that you will become a UX designer like within 6 weeks. That is not true at all, because as a professional UX designer, everyone is still learning. Like I've been in UX for like 6 years now, and I'm still learning every day. So it's like impossible to become a very confident UX designer within 6 weeks. I think lastly, I want to talk about like UX portfolio. Um, when you go online, if you click on UX portfolio, if you type in UX portfolio, it might take you to Dribbles and Behance, and you're gonna see like very beautifully designed app. However, these are for inspirations only. These are not considered a UX portfolio. So let's say if you want to apply for an internship, if you want to apply for a job, and you show them your design on Dribble or Behance, usually companies will not get back to you, because for UX, they really want to see your process. They want to see how you structure your app. They want to see how you plan this thing. They want to see like how you come to your final decisions of the applications. So like again, the interface and the visual design, it doesn't show anything. Like nobody knows how these work. Like it looks really nice, but if someone will want to hire you, they don't know how this works, or like they don't understand why you did certain things like in a certain way. So these are just for inspirations and not consider a UX portfolio. UX portfolio is something that looks like this. It's going to be a lot of words. It's going to be a lot of writings, because you have to write out, your process from A to Z, like how to, like you have to state the problem, state the goal, what you did, and how did you come to the final, ideas and solutions. And it should tell a story. It should propose the good solutions, and then the final state, then it can be a visual design to show. But like it should show a lot of research and a lot of text explaining why you do certain things. Um, and I think lastly, okay, this is the last slide, I promise. I'm just gonna bust some like UX myth. A lot of people think that UX designer code the app as well. That's not true at all. We mainly focus on the interactions of the user within the with the products. So there's no coding involved for a UX designer, unless if you really like coding, but you also like the UX aspect of it. There's something called UX engineer as well, and you're gonna do a lot more coding for that. But for UX design, it's just going to be focusing on the design and the research aspect of UX. And then you don't need to be super great at UI design as well. Again, like UX has a lot to do with the structure and also the skeleton, like the behavior and the psychology of UX. And the UI and the visual design skill, you can pick that up really quickly. Take some graphic design courses, and you should be fine. But you don't have to be super, super good at UI design to become a UX designer. And lastly, you don't need to know how to do all type of user research. Just know like the basics one, like how to write an interview, how to write a survey, how to conduct like a group, maybe like a focus group. Just very simple research methodology. So you don't have to know everything. And I think like that's it for today. I know this intro is maybe really long. So let me see. We have like 10 minutes for Q&A. So I'm going to look at the chat. If you have like any questions, please put it in the chat so that I can answer it for you. But yeah, before you leave today, make sure to connect with me on LinkedIn. and also checked out student of UXD as well. So now I'm gonna look at the chat and then take some questions. I know like the workshop is pretty long, but I'm trying to cover all the introductions aspect of UX. I hope like you guys don't get overwhelmed by it. So let me take a look at the chat. Sorry, I have to like stop sharing because the chat doesn't show for me. Um, so like first question is tip to apply for first UX and design internship and jobs. I would say portfolio is going to be the number one thing. When you apply for an internship, they will look at your portfolio and your resume to identify if you are a good candidate, and they will look at your portfolio mostly. I do have a lot of tips for portfolio. However, you might need to connect with me on LinkedIn because it's going to be a lot of information. But I would say for your portfolio, it could be a PDF, it could be it could be a website. So I would say really focus on your case studies, focus on like any personal project that you have, and make sure you have like maybe 3 to 4 case study or applications ready on your website so that when recruiters or hiring managers come into your website, they can take a look at those. So that will be the main reason for them to like get back to you is due to portfolio. Um, yeah, so if you have a portfolio already, I think for case studies, a tip that I have is to read other designers' case studies and see how they um, explain their problem and how they kind of like do their storytelling of the solutions. So I did a lot of reading on like other people's portfolio, and it's helped me a lot in like writing a very clean and easy to understand case study. So I would say make it short, straight to the point, um, and make it like easy to understand, because hiring manager and recruiters, they typically spend about 6 minutes on your portfolio. So you need to make sure they understand your case studies without reading like a lot of things. So if you have additional questions, you can connect with me and I can answer more. And then Veronica asked if yeah, I think this one is being recorded now, and I will send this slide out to everyone. So yeah, that's all. So unless there's no other questions, I'll just hand this back um, to the host. So please take over whenever you're ready.
Yeah, of course. So yes, this is being recorded, so I will be posting the link to this on our YouTube channel for Tech Girls United. I can actually send in the link to Tech Girl United's link tree because that has like the link to our YouTube channel and website and stuff like that. So I'll send that in the chat really quick. I also have a survey for you guys, just to, tell us how the workshop went and how you found it so we can also improve on our future workshops. So I sent both the links in here. That's all I really had. So that's all for tonight. You guys are free to leave. Make sure to definitely fill out the survey though, because that will really help us in the future. And I will post the recording of this as soon as possible. And the slides will get emailed out, like she said.
Thank you guys so much. And if you have any additional questions, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I know it's like an introduction, workshop, so it's hard to like cover everything. So I'll do my best to answer my questions. Your questions on LinkedIn. So I think that's all. Hope
Yeah,
you
and
guys
thank you
have
so
a good
much, Vicky,
night.
for hosting this
Thank
workshop.
you. Thanks for inviting me.
Okay, I'll be ending the meeting now.